Well, cool beans, man. We are live on Beyond the Woodline. I'm your host, Joe DeHoyos. My lovely and talented co-host, Miss Shannon Rogers, is having some issues right now, so hopefully she gets those taken care of, and she'll be able to log in just a few moments. But in the meantime, I have Mr. Michael. Is it Kopf? Is that how you pronounce it?
It is Kopf.
Okay, good, Mr. Michael Kopf. And I meant to ask you while we were talking before we actually went on the air. What are the all the little letters after your name? You have GSH, SOTE, PP, DNPT.
So those are paranormal teams that I am a part of or that I support.
Okay.
And so when I investigate, I like to investigate as those.
Okay. Are you actually a part of all those teams, or?
I am a part of the first two. Potter Paranormal is PP. I'm kind of consulting with them and helping out. The first one, GSH, is Ghost Ship Hunters.
Okay.
It's a global group. And the second one is a group I helped the lady who runs it form up north, I believe in Michigan, off of the Great Lakes. It's Sirens of the Expanses.
Okay. And as you can see, we have my lovely and talented and graceful co-host Shannon joining the show too. What is up, Miss Shannon?
He always picks on me. I'm doing good. Sorry. It took me a second. My son. I have a 4-year-old, and it's kind of hard. As y'all know, I live the camper life, the RV life, and when your son's, I had to handle that real quick. So,
Mr. Lupe Mendoza, what's up, Vato Locals? I'm sure he's watching his Cowboys, his favorite team, playing. But yeah.
I've worked with Mike quite a few times, actually, Michael. Now I'm calling him Mike.
Yeah.
I worked with him quite a few times at quite a few locations. He's come on some of my events. He's just a really nice guy. And so we were chit-chatting the other night about something. And I'm like, dude, you ought to come on and talk and tell us about yourself. So,
I'm glad he came on. We were just talking about that, too. How he doesn't really self-promote. But, I think it's good for people to come out here and get to know other people, and other people get to know them, and definitely meet some of the most positive people out there in this community.
Oh, if you want positive, hang out with Shannon.
You're so nice. Joe's laughing. I see.
We always have fun.
Yeah, we do, exactly, and that's one thing when I do events. It's just like everybody has a really good time. It's just one of those things. It's like we respect spirit when we go on, and we have a good time. We laugh. We take multiple breaks, so it's more of an experience. I mean, we can always do the private, serious, investigations, but the events are still serious. But you get to, hang out with people. You get to investigate, take breaks, have food. That's why I love Old Park, because you can really, really do that there. You can really get to know people and have dinner and stay the night, and that's just, which I'm going to be booking that place again soon. So,
cool.
Yeah, you had your birthday there.
Yeah, that was a rough one for me because I had just come off that insane, 7 cities and states in 3.5 weeks. Plus, that's before they fixed my thyroid medicine, so I was just barely hanging on that day, and that's when, right after that event, that's when I took 6 weeks off.
Yeah.
And then what a blessing. They changed my medication, and now I'm coming out the chute running. Do you remember me telling you about that concrete plan, Michael?
I do.
Remember me telling you that I felt like somebody got crushed there and 2 other people picked up on it as well? It's never been investigated, but I've gone in there.
I know, and I was like, we ought to go.
I got the phone call today that it was validated from the person that owned the plant that yes, absolutely, someone did get crushed and deceased in that location. And I'm just like, dude, because if you've been inside the place, you'd understand it's hard to imagine something like that happening. It's just the way the building is and everything's set up. So But we're doing an online investigation this weekend just because John Doherty's coming to town, because we have to go next. So he wanted to come to town to do an investigation because he's like a kid like me and loves doing this crap. I think he's a little bit more hyper and loves it more than I do. Well, I don't know. That's hard to say, but he's like, well, what can we do? And I'm like, well, 2 miles from my house happens to be this place. That's where I got my attachment. Da, da, da. So we set up just a live investigation with me, Lauren, and him. And it's not going to be an event or anything, but we'll be doing that live. But he's going to stay here, probably with me, or he's going to stay here with me for a week because we have to turn around and go right to next weekend. Actually, next Thursday, we're going to Salina to do some prep work and a solo investigation at, I can't even think right now, at the where we're doing the Paracon at the temple. Yeah, and then the next weekend we're having the Paracon at the temple. So there's a lot of moving around. So I came out of the shoot running again, and I'm ready. I'm excited, and I'm so glad we got to investigate at Fort Walters last weekend. That was awesome.
That was.
I was a little tired because I just left work after a crazy week, but no, that was really awesome, and I can't wait to have more adventures there. They're having 2 haunted houses there, which is important to mention. Texas Scaregrounds. You get 2 haunted houses in one, and it's and they're in a haunted location. A lot of those artifacts in this haunted house or props and everything were at the Nazareth, which was extremely haunted.
Or Beach Hospital.
Oh, Beach Army Hospital is like how many yards away? It's insane.
Yeah, but I think they got some of the stuff from there too in the new haunt.
There's a lot to be. Yeah, it's going to be cool there too. So, and then for Halloween, I'm going to be out at Old Park Hotel doing and being part of their haunted house. Because I promised them I would do it this year. But yeah, I'm going to be working security. I got me what do they call them? A tactical vest and everything. I'm like, I bought one online. I got my
told me.
I volunteered for 2. I told her I could only do it for 2 weeks, but I would love to help out and for the Fort Walters and everything. So that's going to be fun. So anybody in the Texas area, it's going to be really interesting. I recommend anyone coming out because it's a really new and upcoming place. So not for just the haunted house, but for the haunted attraction as well for investigations, which will open up in 2022.
That's pretty cool.
We had some really cool EVPs there and experiences going off. Before we even did the EVPs, we had some Jordan got touched and set off a piece of equipment that was on the other end of a hallway. We still haven't figured out how that happened.
Well, yeah, I was right there, and it was really weird. You're right, Michael. Like it was, like she thought it was a bug that hit her head, but there weren't any bugs flying around in there, and there was this huge like plastic bottle cap laying on the ground right there, but when she screamed about 30-40 yards away down in the hallway around a little cove that you can't even see, there was a motion sensor set off on a haunted prop, which was a skull that would, and she said she heard a wolf howl, and that's exactly what went off. So it was just really weird. I think it's something like letting her know, that getting her attention.
Yeah, it's important to note it was motion activated.
I'm sorry,
not audible.
Yes, and there was no motion around. Period. It was really interesting,
and it cycles through, and so we had to cycle through several sounds for it to make the one. And she was like, "Yeah, that was it." And we all were like, "Yeah, that's what we heard."
Because we didn't even know it howled, and she says, "No, I heard a wolf howl." And then we couldn't find out there was a wolf that howls on it.
So yeah, definitely looking forward to getting back in that place.
Well, I'm hoping to be able to start doing events. Got to go through and do a good preliminary investigation this Saturday, and if so, we'll be able to start opening that up too. But yeah, I can't wait to start doing events or just be a part of investigations out at Fort Walters. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I could share this out right now, but I'm on my cell phone because I'm sitting outside.
Oh, okay. Well, I shared it to my timeline, and I got a couple other people who just shared it out too. So thank you, Courtney, for doing that.
Can you share it to Paranormal Explorations?
I sure can.
Sorry, with my son right now, I usually have my laptop and my phone and work simultaneously. But when I was inside, my reception was horrible. I was cutting up and everything, so I had to come outside. That's why I'm out here tonight.
Let me see. Yeah, I'll share it too. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. What got you into the paranormal field? How long have you
Well,
been doing that?
I kind of grew up in it in a way where I was having experiences, but I never gave it much thought. I had an experience when I was 2 where I fell down a shaft and remember, like years later, this is years later, like I'm 13, I'm remembering when I was 2 and falling down this shaft from an attic down the second story, first story to a basement. And the only thing that happened was my eyebrow got cut. That's why one of my eyebrows doesn't have the full hair going across it.
Okay.
And I remember having a conversation with someone as I'm going down and this white light around me. And I thought nothing of it. And then I started realizing, wow, that was a paranormal encounter. And I'd see shadows all the time in the corner of my eyes moving around. I could hear like conversations when nobody's around. And so I always just thought, well, that's normal life for me. And I've seen on TV people going and investigating and trying to experience all this stuff. And I was like, well, that's on TV and I'll probably never, ever be on TV. So I'll just switch over and try and make a normal life, so to speak. And then come to find out people are actually going out and doing this. And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm switching back.
That's really cool.
But
So, what happened to your eyebrow? Was that paranormal or?
Well, we found out that it got clipped by a wire, and I got up from the concrete ground in the basement, and that was the only thing. No broken bones. Just my eyebrow was cut enough to where no hair would ever grow there.
Oh, okay. So when did you start actually going out and doing paranormal investigations?
I was going off on my own for like probably 5 years now, but 3-4 years ago, I got approached by a team and started investigating with them. And I started realizing, investigating with them, that's how I met Shannon and others. And talking with them, it's like I realized I have more in common with them than I do with my own team that I'm with. And so I parted ways and tried other teams, and I just found kind of doing it my own with the people that I resonate with is so much better than going to places with people that you're on a team with, so you feel like you should be experiencing stuff together, and hearing them saying, oh, I'm having this happen, and I'm sitting there going, nope. I'm not hearing that. I'm not seeing that. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
I like to be an individual too. I see what you're saying. You can just, collaborate with people and move around and have your individuality.
Yeah, that's what I like, is getting a flavor with everybody. And I was finding with the team I was on that they were like starting to complain that I was like going and investigating with Shannon or going and investigating with this team. And they're like, hey, what about our team? Don't you ever want to? And I'm like, you guys aren't doing anything right now. So I'm doing something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna roll out, aren't we?
And I flat out told them too when I joined the team the second time. I was like, "You guys realize I've been going out on my own, and so I'm gonna keep doing that." They're like, "Okay," and then they were like, started being like, "No, we really want you to focus with us," and I was like, "I'm
Yeah.
not burning bridges I've worked hard to create."
Right. So, what are some of your favorite places that you've investigated?
One of my favorites was the Nazareth because I seen an apparition of someone there during an event, and it was kind of funny because I'm sitting here looking and something just says in my head, look up, and I look up and I see this person walking and someone's doing a meditation, and so I'm like, oh God, do I interrupt the meditation because someone's about to walk in the door or what? Come
I
to
know what you're talking
realize when I took a step back, the person A disappeared,
Oh wow.
and B, where I saw the person, I could not see the windows. They were already inside. And so
Oh.
I was like, that just blew my mind. I was like, oh man, it's like I wish I had stopped her, but I was like, out of respect for her, I was like, nope, you finish your meditation. And the second she was done, I was like, while you were meditating, I saw this, and everyone was like, what? But
I know what I think I was there at that event actually. When you said meditate, yeah.
yeah.
From 8, yeah.
And let's see, another spot that I was at was 5 years ago. I was in West Virginia at a school, and I was in a classroom closet walking around, and I felt like something on my shoulders was trying to push me through the floor to another level. And I was like, I'm not having this. I'm on this level. You're not pushing me through a solid floor. Not happening. So I walk into the hallway, and my friend from Europe, who I was traveling with, is in the hall talking with someone. And just as I walk in, he's fixing his hat. And he says, man, a spirit just walked up and flicked this hat off my head. And I'm like, great. I missed it.
Right.
And so I start walking into another classroom, and we have our backs side to side, and we both hear a voice, clear as day, a little girl. And we both stop dead in our tracks, turn, look at each other, and we're having this silent conversation like, you heard that, right? Yeah, I heard it too. What'd you hear? That's what I heard. You know, it's like we're having that mental connection, and then we hear her call his name, and both of us dart to where we heard it, and I go actually into this auditorium balcony and standing there, and it's completely empty. Not a soul in there, and this is daytime. And we were getting ready to leave, and I had to go find them. And when we got to the car, the funny story was because both of us have been talking on Facebook, and I would always say, oh, you know, you may run, but I'm going to stay and face it. And he put his hands in the car and he goes, thank you for not embarrassing me and running screaming like a girl out of the building.
I know what you're talking about.
Of a voice.
I know which location you're talking about too. Same area. Yeah.
It's a school where they're turning it into an art gallery now.
Is it in Mineral Wells?
No, it's in West Virginia.
No? Oh, okay. I didn't catch that part. I'm sorry. I keep having to mute my mic because my neighbors' football Cowboys are playing. So I keep muting it.
And the strange thing is it's built on a slant.
Huh.
And there was a claim that out of the top window, some kids had committed suicide. And
Aw.
we went up there and we got in that room. It was the only room that had flies on all the windows.
Hello.
Wow.
It's like you walk around this entire building, you don't see nothing. No bugs, no nothing. You get up there, man, where are all these flies coming from?
Because I'm gonna go grab my charger real quick, okay? Since I had to switch to my phone, I can plug in right here. So give me 1 sec.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
And do you have any special abilities or gifts?
I would say I have sometimes I can sense, like, I'll get a sense like there's something there, and I'll be like, I'll stop and I'll just kind of like start to scan the room, trying to figure out where is it coming from.
Right.
And I can sense like energy, or sometimes I feel like I can sense spirit when they're there before they say anything. It's like I kind of get, I kind of nicknamed it with a friend a spidey sense. You know, when you're like, you're walking in somewhere and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. You're like, I feel like I'm being watched, but I don't feel like I'm being watched. I feel like there's somebody here, but I know there's nobody here kind of feel.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's what I get a lot. And sometimes I can hear voices, and I don't really say what I'm hearing because a lot of times I feel like it's like an internal conversation. And so it's like, yeah, if I say this, it's not going to make sense to anybody. And I'm just going to keep this to myself.
You never know. It might make sense to somebody. Somebody might be able to put that to the puzzle that they're hearing or something.
Yeah, I always trust my instincts, though, my gut, because I've tried in the past and saying, like, oh, I can do this or that. And then people, like, start looking at you different and are like, I don't think you really can. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that anymore.
Mhm. Yeah. So, what events do you have coming up next? Do you have any investigations going on?
I don't have any investigations coming up, but I am taking October to help out with the Texas Scaregrounds. So I'll be in Mineral Wells with Chaos and Mayhem. It's
Okay.
really cool. We have got on a military base, and we're in a PX building, is one of the haunted houses. That's going to be this huge maze with really cool rooms. And then we got a bank. And we found out the PX was also the commissary. So there's this huge open area where people can wait in line. And we got some special stuff in mind for people while they're waiting. We're setting up a store in there. And it's going to be really wild. And Shannon and I were talking about going to Oklahoma, so I may come out and do that one. Was that in October you were looking at, Shannon?
Yeah, you know what? I just had to cancel that. I needed to take it off my website, and the reason is they, they're run pretty much by the Historical Society. It is a museum now, and there's a lot of liability there. And they were wanting a certain kind of insurance. I could have got the insurance, but it would have been, that was a break-even event. It was just to cover the cost. But, and the lady was really rooting, but the board was, I guess they were thinking it was going to be like a massive event. And I was like, let me kind of explain to you how we do it in the field. We call it events, but it's really just an investigation. Now, an event is when I do like a masquerade, which I'm planning on next year having or actually maybe even New Year's Eve doing a really big at a haunted location, which I've been thinking about it and talking about it for a while. Doing a masquerade ball at a haunted location with the DJ and all that kind of stuff, and everybody book rooms there and all that kind of stuff. So that's happening. But I guess they kind of thought that it was going to be like a big event. And I'm like, no, it's actually just an investigation. So
right.
I canceled it. But I mean, there was no hard feelings. I just told her, I was like, it's a lot more than I plan on getting into at the moment. I said, but I would love to come back and do a private. And so we're just a few of us share the cost and go and have fun. So that's definitely on the table still. Like I said, it's one of those things I have to remove it, but I got a lot of cool stuff coming up though.
And December 4th, I'm going to be at Old Park with Brandon Alvis and Mustafa.
I need to book my ticket on that one.
Yeah, that's going to be wild.
Yeah. Anytime at Old Park is wild, but you have that trifecta right there, or
Yeah.
It's going to be really good. And I can't wait. I talk about that location all the time. I really do, because they're just amazing. And then,
Yeah.
the Nazareth, unfortunately, we can't be there anymore, but it's okay because they picked another great location, 2 locations to continue, what they're doing on. So,
And with Old Park, did you get to do the jail?
yeah, I did. And Dan actually said that was one of the most epic EVP sessions we ever did. A lot of pieces of the puzzle were clearly intelligently coming through, and it was hot. It was like in, oh my gosh, I think May or June, I don't know, but it was really, really hot. But yeah, what was happening, the activity was insane. So I love it when they do that.
I was on the second group to go in there, and we were all sitting in the main cell area, and all of a sudden, it's like one of my legs started feeling like there was pressure on it, and I was kind of feeling like something like on my face, and they all started looking at me and going, "You realize you have a spirit sitting on your lap, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm starting to feel it. Yeah, I could feel it." And they're like, "Do you need to step out? Because you're starting to look." And I was like, "I'm not stepping out." And they're like, "Why?" I go, "If something's attached to me, I am making sure it leaves and stays here before I step out there, and am responsible for unleashing it out there. Because if anything's keeping it in there, I don't want to be the one that goes, 'Hey, let's cross this threshold together,' and go, 'Okay, go have fun.'" I'm like, "You're here for a reason. You're going to stay here. I'm not a taxi."
Exactly.
Do you do anything to protect yourself?
I usually go and I wear a ring that's got a triquenta on it, which is the druidic symbol for protection. I wear shungite. I have magnetic beads that have magnets on them that's supposed to keep energy up. And I also have I think it's called a quinseed. I actually have it on right now, but it's a seed from Italy where nuns have gathered them up and they bless them and they put them in a resin, and it's supposed to repel any energies in a 3-foot radius. Nothing can cross those.
That's cool.
And so I was like, yeah, I got that, because when I went to the Lavaca jails, I stepped into a portal and I didn't realize I was in a portal, and I started getting drained to the point to where I was out, and someone touched my shoulder and I fell to the ground. I mean, I was out. And then I came to and I was like, man, that something got through my protection. And that's when a friend said, yeah, you were in a portal. I need to get you one of these seeds from Italy, and that'll help keep that from ever happening again. And I was like, so blessed to have friends like that are looking out for me.
Right.
And what's that seed called again?
I think it's called a quinseed.
Okay, I'm look that up.
Me too. And that's the thing, is like, no matter how protected we are, and I try to tell people, because I learned that at the concrete plant when I got my little issue, like, no matter how protected you think you are, there's always something that can get through. We're not always 100%. Sometimes we're vulnerable, so you always have to be extra careful and know the people you're investigating with, so they can know you and know it and catch you. Like you said, have friends that can see that something's wrong with you, that the look in your eyes have changed, even if you don't fall to the floor, because that's definitely a big sign. But that's really important, is to have each other's back and pay attention to the people around you.
Yeah. And I have to say, my big thing with that was I've always been able to sense like if there's an energy portal around. Like when I go to, I think it's the Hood County Jail Museum, the one in Granbury. They have a portal in there, and the guy that he knows me, he'll always say to me, he goes, "Where's the portal now?" And I'll go walking around, and I'll be like, "Oh, it's over here." He's like, "Yeah." And so I can sense those, and this one completely caught me off guard, and I did a lot of thinking about it, and was like, how could that be? And the one thing that I came up with, and with talking to my friends about it in the spiritual community, is it was not a natural portal. Somebody had opened something and left it open. And so I was like, after that happened to me, I put what happened to me, and I put a message out that says, people, please do not open things you don't understand and leave them open, because you don't know that it's not closed and it's dangerous to do this.
And a lot of times they can be opened by things that aren't even like the living people, like suicides can create such havoc that it can create a portal to open. So there's so many different reasons, and that's why you don't know what you're dealing with in 100% of the time. We just don't. We're not experts. That's why we're researchers, investigators, is so we can help my neighbors. They're watching the football game. Sorry.
The other team
I
was
was
something.
I'm just going to be quiet and mute myself.
Hey, Michael, so what is a Reiki Master?
Reiki Master. Okay, so Reiki is energy, and it's learning that you can heal things in the body with energy, because it's just a blockage and you can use energy to move it through. And so when you go and you're learning it, they have Reiki 1 and 2 and 3, which you just learn how to do. 3 is remote healing, where I can work on someone that's not in front of me. Reiki 1 and 2 is you just learn deeper connection to the energy around you, and start to feel your own aspect of it. Like I can feel the energy of like lightning, water, the elements. And master means you just went through and took a extra class and can teach Reiki to others.
Okay.
I have a question on that. Have you ever we're going to do Reiki on someone and said, I'm sorry, I can't because of their energy?
I have, and funny story about that is I ignored my gut on it and said, no, I'm going to work on this person because his partner, well, his wife really was intent on, he's got to have this, and it's really he needs this help. And so I did the work, and I ended up getting stiffed on the bill on the exchange. And so I learned, always make sure everything is on the level before going through. But on the flip side, I used to help friends out with it, and a really sweet lady came over and she said, yeah, my daughter works for a chiropractor and she has all these back issues and the chiropractor won't work on her. I'm like, really? That seems kind of cold. I mean, he won't even help his own staff. But I was like, all right, I'll see what I can do. And I did one session with her, and in my mind's eye, I could see like I describe it as harp strings, and they were all kind of like dusty. And so I would vision myself plucking these strings, and they're getting cleared, and you can see the energy starting to flow. Well, her mom, when I'm done with the session, gets up comes over and she's like talking to her daughter, and she runs her hand down her back. And I kind of was like at first going, okay, well, that's kind of an odd thing. Maybe she's just trying to comfort her, and saying it's okay. Maybe I didn't see something she saw and she was uncomfortable. But come to find out, her back was in like a really bad S curve that was painful to her. And she took my hand then and put it down her spine, and it was straight. It like somehow realigned itself, and she was like, I don't know how you did that. And I looked at her and I said, I don't know either. I'm just a conduit for the energy. It did what it needed to do. I'm grateful she had such a great experience. But if you ask me today, what did I do? I don't know. I really don't know. But that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. And how'd you get involved with this?
I've always wanted to help people, and I've always had a knack to where, like, if somebody had a headache, I could put my hand on their shoulder, and they would start and just like kind of talk to them or just be there, and they would say, "Oh, my headache's gone. Thank you. I feel so much better. Thank you for just listening, or thank you for just being here."
Okay.
And so then somebody said, yeah, maybe you should try Reiki, because I don't know, is Shannon telling me to hold on?
No, she'll be right back.
Oh, but when they were explaining the Reiki to me, I was like, man, that just sounds really cool and like something I could do. And I went to, funny stories, I went with my mom at a bookstore, and this nice couple came around and was doing everything, and they stopped at me, and the guy goes, well, you're a natural. And so I was like, why do I need Reiki 2, 3, Master? Why do I need any of that? I can just stop now. I don't need any of that. And it got in my head, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do this or that. I'm a natural. Well, then like, okay, let's go 15 years in the future, and I'm talking to a guy who communicates and channels while doing Reiki, and he's like, hey, do you have any interest in Reiki? And I said, funny you should say that. I did Reiki 1 and was told I was a natural. And he's like, yeah, but did you really do Reiki 1? And so he goes, I'll tell you what, take my course. I'll give you a little discount because you've already done Reiki 1. See what you think. And going through his, oh my God, I learned like one side of the body is masculine energy, one side is feminine energy. You can ask questions, and depending on the side that responds, tells you what you're dealing with, what's in the past. And I was like, man, my mind got blown, and I was like, man, I want to learn everything I can from you. And so that's how I got my mastership from him. I was starting to learn there is so much the body can tell us that I had no idea about.
You know what I really appreciate about you, Michael, when we're talking about energy and stuff like that? I really do feel like you do have a true connection, because I'm more connected to energy than anything. And I've noticed about you, like, instead of just everybody having fun in the field, liking each other, I think you get me a lot more than a lot of the investigators out there by the conversations we have and everything. And there's an appreciation there, and it's mutual. And that's what I really, when we have our conversations, it's like I can tell that you genuinely understand me. And which is, I mean, because we all run around and have fun and do our thing and get serious, but with a lot of times it's just so fast forward, nobody really gets to know each other. But I think you've really channeled into my energy, and I feel that, and I appreciate that. And you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
It's just one of those things. It's a mutual respect, and you see past all the fun that everybody's having, and you really connect to who I am. And I've always noticed that, and I do want to tell you I appreciate that, because that's hard for people to see in me sometimes.
Well, you're welcome. And I also noticed between you and me, it's like I can tell when you're like tired at events. It's like I'll walk up and I'll be like, hey, are you okay? Are you? And it's like I know you see I'm not just saying, hey, are you okay? It's like, I know something's off.
Well, I had
Are
that head
you
problem.
okay?
I had so many problems, that stupid thyroid. I'm great now. Like once they changed that medication out, like I felt like a new lease on life. Now I was tired on Saturday. It was because I mean, I just got off work and, I've been dealing with a lot of events and things that are happening and coming out and,
Yeah.
paracons and haunted house is just every direction. So I was just tired that day. But, yeah, like for the past year, you've seen me tired a lot, just like drained. But I'm getting my hold on, energy source balance out again in 1 second. My neighbors, I guess the Cowboys hit a field goal or something. But I just noticed that. So yeah, you've been around, like, when you see me perked up and then it just went shh, and then now I'm going back up again. So that's fun, and that's what's really cool. And I'm sorry, I gotta mute this.
No, and she's seen me on the wave too, to where like I'll be really high about something and you can tell, and when I'm like upset about something, I don't show my emotions a lot. I'll put on the happy smile and I can fool a lot of people by smiling and being like all chipper and everything, but few people, and Shannon's one of them, will be like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I can tell something's off." And I'm like, "Man, I thought I was really good at this."
Well,
And
it's because we
so
operate on a different level. We use energy and feeling, like we feel and connect to energy. However that manifests, it's the energy we connect to, not the visuals. The energy turns into visuals. Does that make sense?
it
It
does.
turns into a
And
storyline. It's like you feel the energy, and the energy transforms into what's going on. It's not like you just have visuals right away. We feel the energy and emotion of it first.
and what's amazing is I have a friend that was interviewing me, and she goes, "Michael, I have to tell you one thing. I watched every one of the videos you were in from the team and that you put on YouTube. And I love that when a kid comes out energy, you become a kid energy and talk to it at that level. And if it's a goat, like an adult, you're at an adult level. And if it's, starting to put up a front, you'll put up a front. It's like you will match it." And she's like, "I see so many people struggle with that, and you just do it naturally." And I was like, I didn't even realize I was doing that.
What's your sign? Are you Pisces? What's your sign?
I am Pisces.
Ah, shut up.
Not
Sorry.
just any Pisces, though. I was born on the Ides of March.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you
But
go.
Pisces tend to match energy that they're connecting to. That's why I
Yeah.
was wondering. Sorry. That's cool. I didn't know that. Okay, carry on. I'm sorry.
No, but yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Without realizing it, have a natural ability to match and communicate at whatever level they're presenting themselves.
So when you help people, I mean, besides I guess like anything physical, do you help like emotional, mental?
I have, because growing up in like a spiritual awareness, not the dogma of religion, I think and perceive things, I kind of feel like differently than some people. And so, like, I'll have a friend that'll say, "I keep having this happen. What's going on?" I was like, "Do you see this as a pattern in your life?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're repeating this pattern. What are you not getting from yourself that you keep repeating this pattern?" And they're like, "Well, I need this, and I'm like, "No. What in you are you missing that you're creating these scenarios to bring it to you?" And they're like, "Oh, you're
in,
right. I
in,
could do it this way, and if I did and it's like you can see when they get that aha moment, and it's like you'll see the entire energy shift and go, "Okay."
and
And
that, I'm sorry.
oh, go
And I was
ahead.
going to say, and that's the thing of 2021. The message of this year is patterns, breaking patterns. That horrible retrograde we went through was to acknowledge patterns and to break them, to start anew. And so it's funny you brought that up, because it was acknowledgement of patterns. Like, patterns have to be broken to ascend. Does that make sense?
It does. And there are so many times, and I was taught the mirror effect. And it really changed my life when I learned what a mirror effect is. And I use it in paranormal too, is when, say, like, I'll use you as an example, Joe. You did something and I was like, man, that really upset me. I'm looking at you and I go, why did that upset me? Well, because something about you is what I see in me. So I'm really upset that I am that way and I would do that. And it's like, oh man, I need to change that. And so people will show what you don't like about yourself is what really upsets you about people. And you're like, I can't believe they would do that. Well, they're not really doing that to you. They're showing you something you don't like about yourself that you don't want to see.
Right.
It's kind of like the shadow.
Yeah.
We can overlook anything, and that's people got to really start tapping into what they're feeling and their emotional guidance system through the law of attraction. You know, this is what I've studied, and I do believe this. We all are born with an emotional guidance system, something in your gut, something that tells you need to listen to it. We need to listen to our emotions more, because our higher self is telling us what's good for us, what's not, what's, like what we're learning from a situation. So people really got to start tapping in, and like, it's okay to like feel what's going on with yourself. You don't have to like put it in blocks and, in boxes and put it on a shelf, because you're not getting anywhere with that. That's why so many people like store stuff inside so much they like have a breakdown, because you're not supposed to, even though we're human and we do that, but naturally we're not supposed to, but we do.
And being Pisces, one of the things that drives all my friends nuts is I can be furious about something. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I got that out. And I'll start going, so are we going to go play video games now? And they're like, how did you just on a dime go from madder than hell to, hey, let's go have some fun?
Because we progressed.
And it's like, that's just how my mind works. I can flip on an emotion, like on a dime. Like, I can be upset about something, and then I'm like, okay, I processed it. I've given it enough time for today, and let's move on. But I will say, though, one thing I learned through Mankind Project, which is the rite of passage into manhood that we've lost our way on, was how to communicate feelings and understand how you're communicating those feelings. Because I would bottle up everything that I thought was a bad emotion. So I would always give off a happy vibe or be like, yeah, and I would never show if I was sad or angry. I'd be like, I could say, yeah, I'm sad about that. But you'd look at me and think, how can you be sad? You're not teary-eyed. You're not frowning. You don't even look upset. But that's how I learned to survive, was by not showing the weakness. And then found out through this program is, no, this is the correct way you show it. And a lot of times, like Shannon was saying, you bottle it up and it comes out what we called sideways. And you're blowing up at somebody who did nothing really wrong, but they just were that catalyst to blow the top off of that jar inside, and everything comes out, and you're like, okay. And so we learned that when that happens, to simply take a step back, take a breath, and then step back into the situation and go, hey, I want you to know I am upset about this, but I shouldn't have reacted this way. This is because I had a lot bottled up. You just happened to be the one that broke the lid, I'm sorry it came out sideways and I blew up at you like I did, but yeah. And it's like it dissolves the situation, and you still get to express your anger at them. You still get to release that energy, but in a healthy way instead of being that unfortunate person that just. And I would always say to people, if you need a sounding board, lay it on me. I can take it, and I won't take it personal. And so, but I would never have someone that I could do that with. So I'd be bottling up my stuff, my reaction to their stuff, and then being like, okay, I got nothing. So I feel bad for the person who's going to get the butt end of this. To learn that, yeah, we don't have to be that way, that it's okay to say, hey, I'm angry about this.
And the way I see it is when you acknowledge the way you feel, you become in alignment with yourself. And when you become in alignment with yourself, that's when you progress. That's why people get in so much ruts, is because they're not listening to their true self and what is good for them from their higher, does that make sense, from their higher self? And that comes through a lot of really metaphysical stuff. I think that's why I like talking to Michael so much, because I'm really more metaphysical than anything, even though I'm so ate up with the paranormal field. But you have to be in alignment with yourself. Oh, grasshopper just jumped on me. Got in alignment with me. But no, when you honor and really focus on how you're truly feeling, you progress from that, because it's like you're graduating from that situation. And until you do, you're just sitting in a rut. Like, you have to get in alignment with yourself. I recommend a book to anyone. And if you haven't read it, Michael, I think we talked about it. I'm going to get you one. The Law of Attraction by Jerry and Esther Hicks. You take from it what you do, but there is some really good content in there, and it changed my life. I was the most worst negative Nancy. My life sucked. I mean, it was horrible. And I read that in 2011. And my life has done nothing but transform ever since, because I learned to understand energy. I learned to understand my higher self. Yeah. Okay. So you read it. I read on from those too. Thank you. So you understand, like, that, like, literally there's something, it's stuff that you already know. And that, am I right though? It's stuff you already know, but you get so clouded from everything else. My son's calling, Mama, please stay inside.
Well, and even on a deeper level is you start to see, why did that make me angry?
Yeah.
And you start to understand where you're starting to come from, and being like, hey, because this guy bought this, say, beer, it upset me. Why did I let that upset me? And then it's like you start going in and looking and going, well, I guess it stems from this, this, and this. And you start letting go of these things. And then you start realizing, man, your relationships with people become vastly different. And people you've been hanging around with for years, all of a sudden you may be like, hey, I know we have like a 20-year friendship, but I'm sorry to say right now in this space, I don't connect with you, and it's okay.
And
whereas,
go ahead.
Instead of coming at going, oh my God, I don't want to lose my friends. I shouldn't lose a friend over that. And then we get worried about how the other person is going to feel by you stating where you are and what you're feeling. And we used to call that the selfish side, and learning there is a good selfish.
Yeah.
That we do need to honor and take care of ourselves.
To be there for others.
Yeah.
And to touch on that, sorry, you're speaking my language tonight. I'm like, to touch on that, I mean, like, when others do things that upset us, when others do things that we don't understand, we have to understand they're living their own reality, their own manifestation. And we need to live ours and not let it bother us so much. If it bothers us, that's a sign to move on or work on it. But we can't control how other people think or how they respond, because they're living in their own reality, which has nothing to do with our own. And that's just how it is. We can't expect people to see things the way we do. We can't expect people to react the way we want them to. We can't expect people to behave and say things or do anything that make us feel comfortable, because they're on their own path and we're on our own. They're not always going to line up, and we have to learn that that's okay that it does it and not let it bother us so much.
Yeah. I used to always go around and watching Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. There was a line in the movie that when I first heard it, like clicked in my head, and I was like, "Oh my god, this sums up everything." And that was when Akeem said to Robin, "There are no perfect men, only perfect intentions." And in that moment, I realized, "Oh my god, I got chills thinking about that and going,
I like that.
okay, what he's saying is we don't have to be perfect. Our intention is where the perfection is, and my intention was this. Even if it didn't come out that way, my intention was good. I
Right.
wasn't meaning for this big blowout. If something comes out, like I said, when something comes out sideways, and it's like, even if it does come out sideways, you start to see the beauty in, yeah. So I still got to work on that because that came out sideways. Not done yet on that. Or, geez, that situation used to cause me to flare up and just go into the quote wild side, upset and angry. And here I am looking at you and like I could care less. And it's like you go, wow, I've grown.
That's happened to me a couple times this year. That you said that is so true. Someone thought my intent was different than it was, and I'm just like, no, it was not, because I knew my intent was pure. So yeah, I'm totally nailing on that. Like, you don't have to be perfect, but as long as your intent is good, it doesn't matter if they perceive it that way, but in your heart that your intent was good.
Yeah, and how I bring that into the paranormal investigating is everybody will say, are you going to this place because it's haunted? And I'll be like, no, I'm going to this place to experience the place. I have no attachment to if I get anything, if I don't get anything, if I show up late or if I'm early, or, if I end up at the wrong place. Hey, I don't care. It's exactly what was supposed to happen. And there is such a peace in that, to where I used to, in my mind, go, okay, I'm going to say I'm going to Waverly Hills, and everybody talks about how haunted it is. In my old self, I would be sitting there going, okay, I got to go there because I'm going to experience this, this, and this. And if I don't, something's wrong with me because everybody else has had this happen. To where now, if I went there and I was like, and none of that happened, I'd go, damn, I guess I'm not at the same place they are, and the spirits respected me for me and didn't feel the need to do that. And it's like totally different approach. And I don't feel like I have to prove anything anymore to
Exactly.
anything, and that I am who I am, and that's great. And if people don't like it, not everybody will.
It's your own spiritual journey. I tell people all the time that being in the paranormal field, I don't, I used to like cameras all over me everywhere, and that's great because that's a good researcher. But I'm honestly and I tell people honestly, I'm in the field because I'm on my spiritual journey. And doing this is part of it. I don't have to have the most crazy experiences. It's in a collective of everything going on and the experiences you have, the people you meet, the lessons you learn, and it's like just like meeting you, meeting Joe, meeting Beth, meeting John and Steven, meeting Eileen, meeting Phoenix, everything, Shauna, everything happens for a reason, and that's my experience. That's my fulfillment in my soul. Is I'm down this road because it's my passion, and I'm living in an experience right now. I'm living a journey of passion, and that is my experience. I'm not, then everybody has different journeys and passions, and mine is just to experience it and share it with
And
others.
a kind of funny experience that I just had when I left the team I was with, I said, look, I'm leaving only because I'm taking a different spiritual path that's more serious for me. And I know where your guys' spiritual path is from our conversations, and that's okay. And he comes back and says, so we're not serious? And I flat out looked at him and on the text, and I was like, do you realize I just said I was taking a serious route? I never said you weren't. And
But-
so it was like so interesting to be looking at that and going, see, and this is, and I go, and here you are creating drama, which is one of the things I'm like, I don't need right now. I got enough of that. And this is what I'm talking about. You're creating drama when there isn't any. And it's like, just to see people's reaction to that, it's like, yeah. And it's like, how in that statement would they come up with, so we're not serious? I'm like,
well,
where
that
did
goes
that
back.
even come from?
Well, that goes back to what I was saying. Is like you can't expect people to understand where you're coming from. They may not always, but your intentions were right. That's what we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier. You know, that's a good example of that. Is not that anybody's wrong in the situation. It's just not everybody's on the same path, and it gets misconstrued. But as long as you're in alignment with yourself, and my neighbors are yelling again. Cowboys must have filled it a field goal. I'm so sorry. I love you guys. Joe's just. I'm
But-
sorry, Joe. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening to you guys.
I
Yeah,
know.
I think
I can
Joe's
talk to
just
them
enjoying
forever.
this metaphysical ride.
No, we talking metaphysical. I'm on like I get enlightened. I get lifted up. You know, I really do, because that's really my passion in the whole paranormal field, is more the metaphysical side. And it's hard to constrain that to to a bunch to people when I do investigate that. That's more what I do. I'm a feeler. I want to feel the energy. And I'm so blessed that I spent almost 10 years doing metaphysical before paranormal, because it helped me understand energy and spirit before I learned that we can use like cool equipment,
Yeah.
you know?
And I mean, and the funny thing is like these people I thought of as family, and I'm like, I still do. It's just we're going in different directions, and it's funny how they're like taking it personally and being like, well, we treated you like this. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it's not like I'm like killing you right now. It's like, why is this, such a, instead of supporting me, why is it like, oh my God kind of moment? It's like,
Because we can't expect everyone to understand, and that's okay. We'll wish them good intent and
Yeah.
good measure. And that's the thing about a spiritual journey, is like I said, you can't expect everyone to be on the same page. You just got to be in alignment with yourself and follow through, because this is your personal journey. And I
Yeah.
commend you for doing that. And I'm sorry if there was any feelings hurt or anything like that. And when at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal, even if it feels like a big deal at the time to people. But
yeah.
and things have a way of balancing out. They really do. But
Yeah, I mean, and it was great for me to see and stand in my ground and saying, this is what I have to do and this is why I'm doing it. And not go, oh my God, I didn't mean to hurt you. Okay, never mind. I'll stick with you guys. It was like, that's my old self. I would do that because I would be, oh my God, I'm not in it to hurt anybody. So if this hurts you, I won't do it. And it's like, wait, why should I give up what I want? Because this is not what it's supposed to be. And it's like, no, this is me. This is what I'm doing now. And I have to do it.
So what's your take on everything we talked about, Joe, tonight?
I don't know. I just enjoy listening to the conversation.
Yeah, because like this
And intentions. You hear the old expression. About the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So there's two ways to look at it, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess there's a lot more to discuss about that topic, but
I
we're a
know.
little bit past our hour now. So
oh man, I was about to say,
Yeah.
Joe, I seen your shirt saying cryptid. I went to a place in Arkansas.
That's his brand.
They we were walking around these woods on their property, and there would be these X's in the wood.
mhm.
And I pointed it out to somebody and said, it's like, looks like it's grown natural, but it doesn't. And I was like, hey, do y'all see an X there? And they go, oh, that's a sign of Bigfoot. And I go, and it's like, I'm standing there and I go, do you realize that there's in front of the X this dome of rocks that's like perfect? And they're like, oh my God, I've never seen that before. And I'm like, somebody had to put that together.
Right. What part of Arkansas was this?
Joe's intrigued.
What part of Arkansas?
Mena. I think it was near Mena. It's a place called Board Camp.
Okay.
Josh Gates went there.
Huh. Okay.
Dealing with UFOs, and they have a stage where you can sit on it and watch the night sky for UFO activity.
Okay.
And I had some really cool EVPs there because there's no neighbors around.
Uh-huh.
And I was hearing all these, like I was saying to you, Joe, before, is I can hear conversations. And I hit record on my phone and like started recording these conversations that I was hearing. Like it sounded like neighbors partying next door, but there aren't any neighbors.
Okay. Well, I'm looking it up right now. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good area.
We're gonna have to like do a part 2.
Yeah.
You just piqued Joe's interest like last minute because the rock formations usually out there by the X's, the tree formations.
Yeah, it looks like you'd almost say like a Stargate.
With Joe though, with Joe's experience, because that's what Joe does. Joe is does Bigfoot research. That's his specialty. So what does that speak to you when you hear the rock formations? Because I'm curious.
First of all, I'd like to look at it myself and determine whether or not it was people doing it or something else doing it.
Right. Staging,
the same goes for the X's if it was a natural formation or not. But the area where he's talking about is actually a really good area for Bigfoot activity. There's a national forest right there that's pretty active. It's not that far from Broken Bow, actually. It's just right. Yeah, it's good area. It's prime area, actually.
Yeah. Oh, and real quick, Shannon, you know that spider in Broken Bow?
Yeah.
I talked to Ashley about it in an interview, and she said it was a year old before she took over that it was in there from a prior owner. She never changed the batteries in it. Never, and it's cut for electricity. So there is no way in reasonable logic that spider should be going off still.
But our reasonable logic is different than normal people, though. And my reasonable logic is I get why that went off because I've been there. I've investigated there twice. So yeah.
Yeah. I've been there twice too, and the first time I never encountered the spider. The second time I did, and I was like, oh yeah. There's something about this spider.
Well, we got to schedule a part 2. I know we went over 10 minutes and Joe's got stuff to do, but we need to schedule a part 2 and continue this conversation on because I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll get you back on here, Mike or Michael. I'm sorry. I don't mean to disrespect you, man. But
Mike's fine.
But man, we need to get you back on here and continue this conversation, especially with you and Shannon. This is the most I've heard her talk in a long time.
We're on my topic, man. I'm telling you, metaphysical, paranormal is just a byproduct of the metaphysical. It's a way of gathering.
And see, you don't get to talk about that too much, so yeah.
Yeah, and then I know I've been blah, blah, blah. I'm didn't want to be rude. I'm I want to cut in. I got something to say. So yeah, we'll do this again. Thank you so much, Michael, for coming on. And
thank you for having me.
You've always been so kind to me, and that's the relationship I have with you is we have respect for each other.
Definitely.
Joe picks on me, whatever, big brother, little brother. I don't know. He's like a little brother, but he's like 20 years older than me, but
Yeah, whatever, punk. Anyway, hey, Mike, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Everyone in the chat, thanks for participating too. I appreciate that. And we'll have to get Mike on again. And with that being said, good night, everybody.
Good night. See y'all next week.